All right, guys, this is Travis here at Rods and Mods. I'm here with Robbie Azevedos. This is his cool car. I guess he built in high school. I actually I'm not sure what it is, but I'm gonna let him tell you all about it.
So I guess technically it would be a 29 Ford Roadster. It's what it's registered as. This is about the only part that is a 29 Ford Roadster. The wood part is actually an interesting story. So back in the mid-90s in Napa, California, at Napa High School, there was two shop teachers. Bill Newton was running the wood shop, and then Bill Simons was running the machine shop. And they're both car guys, so they got together and they formed a Rods and Roadsters car club where they were going to build a car, and then they were going to sell it and start a scholarship for kids that wanted to go into those kind of industries. So back then, you know, the schools were really pushing none of the trades and things like that, so they kind of saw a need for that. So the Bill Newton built this whole wood body pretty much. The basis of it, he actually would heat and steam these side pieces. He built the fixtures to hold all of it because the doors are curved, the back's curved, and then shaped. And at the time, it had a whole wood cowl. So this piece was all wood, all the way down, and then it had a different cowl on it that was all black and kind of more like a street rodish look back then.
Okay.
And it had a Model A frame that they built in the machine shop with Bill Simons, and then he put the engine together, just this regular 350 small block Chevy. So him and some of his students put that part together. So the doors and the body and then the engine block are the only pieces remaining from that car. So we bought the car. Both teachers retired in the late 90s, maybe around like 98, 99. So then they sold what they had, which was basically just a rolling project. And then that money went into a scholarship fund, which might still be going today. I don't know. But
probably. Yeah, a lot of car guys come out of that area of California, so probably still running.
Yeah.
Or something, or its predecessor.
Maybe, hopefully there was enough interest or something to keep it going. But so my brother and I, we got it going with the Model A frame, and then the way it was with black, it had fiberglass fenders on it. We pulled those off and kind of drove it as a highboy for a summer. And I liked the look of the body, but I didn't like the look of the A frame, kind of tucked way up under there. So we called SoCal Speed Shop, and at the time they made a AV8 frame, which was pinched real narrow for a 29 cal. They had a pinched 32 frame, which was a little less pinched than the AV8 one, and then they had a regular 32 frame. So we tried to kind of just take measurements and send them back and forth, but we weren't really getting anywhere. So my dad and I, we loaded the body up on a trailer, and I was probably 15 or 16 years old, and we drove from Napa, which is Northern California, all the way down to SoCal Speed Shop. And when we got onto Highway 5, my dad pulled over and he says, all right, well, you're driving now, you know, with the body on the trailer. So that was the first time I ever kind of learned to drive a trailer on that trip, I guess.
Nice. Great memories.
Yeah, so we got there, and then we kind of just laid out all the three frames, and then all of them and their guys, you know, we put the body on them all. And I'm pretty sure it's a pinched 32 frame. The AV8 one was actually too narrow for this body for whatever reason. Probably the distance of where the cowl is in relation to the rear wheel well, because that's kind of what you got to line up, and then that's where it ends up in the frame. So that's where I got a 32 frame, and then it's got a 32 grill, and then the windshield frame here, this is a 32, came from Rizzio's shop with the stainless pieces. So I had to fab all this. So stock 29 is round steel, and then the 32 got this slender kind of rectangular shape. And then this piece here inside, so the top of the dash is a Model A, like a 28, 29, but then the bottom of the dash is a 32 Ford again. And then this is the only wood piece on it that I made, was the flame dash piece. I probably I would have gotten rid of it years ago because it's not really my style anymore, but I spent a long time making it, so it's still
it looks
there.
Good.
And then it's got one-off gauges that Classic Instruments built. So at the time, my shop in California was Pacific Coast Custom, so we called it the Pacific Coast Special, and then it's got little palm trees, and then the needle of the palm tree is actually the gauge on there.
But you still got on your window there, I see Pacific Coast
yeah,
Customs.
Yeah. It's one of the last remaining stickers there from a long time ago.
Nice.
So, and then when we did the steel, when I changed this out from the wood piece, this is from my family's wrecking yard. My dad collected old cars to add just for projects and things. So this is a 29 Roadster pickup. A real Roadster has an indentation here that kind of flows into the door body line.
Okay.
The Roadster pickup doesn't have it. So, and then I fabricated the bottom piece, which a real 29 Ford kind of has that line at the bottom that kind of comes up and then goes into the door. So I kind of mimicked that and then built the whole rocker to go along to finish out the door, because the doors, the wood doors, are about 2 to 3 times the thickness of a metal door on like a Model A.
Okay.
And then we cut up, my dad had like a 4-door sedan body, so we cut that up for these wheel well pieces, and then so that's why I kind of made it have a perimeter of steel around the bottom of the body.
Oh yeah.
To kind of protect all the wood and everything from getting moisture from the road. And then finish it off with a 32 gas tank.
All right, 32 gas tanks. So
yeah,
fills in the.
These were actually a swap meet find, which a funny story about those is the Turlock swap meet, which is pretty big. We would just go around finding different lights and things. So we bought one and then couldn't find the other one, and then finally a couple years later we found the other one. So I just had kind of a collection of lights, but we never knew what they were off of.
Oh.
And then my friend that does upholstery, he did a lot of old Packards and Cadillacs and things like that, and he actually had one in his shop, and it was there for a 38 Packard Cabriolet only.
Wow.
So they're probably
Very
pretty
unique.
expensive lights, but
probably pretty expensive.
but they were
lights.
already on here, so they
they look great.
And then I built a little mount for them and machined the taillight piece for them.
Nice. So you fill the tank in the compartment here?
In the trunk, yep. Yeah, so it's kind of in there. And then the batteries in the
Picnic
little
box.
basket. And then we were building, when we finished the car, so I finished it in 2008 to try to go for AMBR. And the trunk wasn't, the car barely got done and the trunk was not. So the trunk's still not done to this day because, you know, we got these little paint sticks shimming it. But I was making these pieces. Actually, the next woodshop teacher, Armin Petrino, he made this, and then he fixed some of the pieces in the body from driving it in bare wood and bare steel for a long time. So he made this piece, and it just never got completely done. So it's like
still really cool.
Like the painter's house is never painted, I guess.
Nice. So there's a cool story about this Magna Supercharger, I think you were telling me.
Yeah, so there's a couple cool things on this car. One of them being, before this I'd finished and built an orange and cream Roadster pickup for my dad, and that's kind of what started the whole shop thing. And in that car we had an LS1 with a Magnuson Supercharger in it, and it was a pretty wild car for its time, even today probably.
Probably, yeah.
I was sitting at a Pleasanton Good Guys show with it, and this older guy kind of walks up to me and he says, "Oh, is this your car?" I said, "No, but I built it." And he says, "Okay, cool." He says, "You know, I see you got a Magna charger on it." I was like, "Yeah." I said, "You know, it runs pretty good and stuff." And he says, "Well, are you building anything for yourself?" And I think I even might have had the car there, just in bare metal. And I said, "Well, I'm building this. I'm going to finish this one day for myself." And he says, "Oh, do you want a supercharger for it?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know. Yeah, that'd be nice, but you know,
yeah.
I don't know if it's really in the cards." So he hands me his card, and it was Jerry Magnuson from Magna Charger, and he says, "Well, call me this week, and I'll send you one for it." He says, "Whatever you want." And I said, "Well, it's got a small block Chevy, so it looks like you only really make one thing for it."
Yeah.
So when I called him up, he says, "All right, so that's what you want?" I said, "Yeah, I mean, that's all you have." He said, "Well, do you want it raw, polished, cast?" He says, "Did you pick whatever you want?" And I said, "Oh, well, polished is going to match it the best." So yeah, he gave me the blower on it.
So
and,
Jerry Magnus himself just gave you a free supercharger.
Gave me a free supercharger, yeah. Guess
That's
he
cool.
felt he got enough advertisement on the other car. And then the steering wheel is pretty cool too. So I got two friends that used to be in business together, Dean Burris and Jason Hancock. They used to run a company called Baileigh Accessories Direct, and they had done a steering wheel for that first orange and cream car as well. They'd kind of heard about it, and we were going to SEMA with it in the DuPont booth, and they wanted to build something a little different. So I drew up a steering wheel that kind of came outside of the wheel, the spokes did, and it got a lot of attention and stuff. So they said, well, if you want something for your own car, let us know, something different again. And I said, well, it'd be cool to have like a little Brody knob built into it, which I think Chrysler or DeSoto, somebody had one stock in the early 60s. I don't remember which one.
I've never even seen one before.
So this was a little harder for them to machine because it's flat, and their wheel blanks come curved like a standard steering wheel is. So it's actually multiple pieces. It has the center piece, and then the knuckle piece, and then the wrap piece. You know, so they have a lot of time in the steering wheel compared to just a basic steering wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that came from them, and then Painless Performance actually gave me the wiring harness in it. Again, Kicker gave me some speakers for it. So some companies helped out here and there. It's really never been to that many car shows. I mean, we tried for AMBR, and then after that, just started driving it again pretty much. So
yeah, it's a cool car. You've had it since high school, like pretty much built it in high school.
Yeah, before I had my driver's license. So.
And I think you told me that you is one of your favorite ones to drive.
It is, yeah. It's probably the one that I like to hop in and go in the most, but it's the one that probably gets driven the least. So.
Yeah.
I actually upholstered the seats even.
Oh, wow.
So we had a friend of mine, when I was around 14 or so, my mom would drop me off. It was kind of a neighbor, lived down the way, and he did upholstery he had a barn out behind his house. And he used to own a shop in town, and then he just did like kind of high-end Packards and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I'd go over there for a couple summers.
Oh, your friend with the lights.
Yes, exactly. That's where it was. So I'd help him do jobs that he didn't really want to do some of. You know, like we'd mount some speakers and everything. That wasn't his thing. And then he kind of would teach me how to sew and do things like that. I haven't done it in years, but I did do these seats, not the rest of it, but I did the seat part of it. Yeah. So those came out of a Mustang from the wrecking yard, and then I did all that, and then he finished it off with the carpet and all the door panels and everything.
Looks fantastic. Actually, I'd love to hear this thing run. Nice. Sounds good. Nice.
It's enough power to get the little thing around.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of supercharged 1929s out there, Model A's.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I've never put a gauge on it, but I doubt there's that much boost to it.
Well, you know, we got a dyno. If we ever want to
fun.
just play around and find out, we could just throw it on there and see. But
I'm almost embarrassed to know. So.
I bet it does all right. Probably yeah. Well, this is a cool car. I love it. 1929. I wasn't sure what it was because of some of the differences, all the little things done to it. I was a little confused, but it is a badass hot rod, honestly. So yeah, thanks for telling us about it and showing it to us. And if you guys have questions, put them in the comments. We love to hear from you. Hit the subscribe button, and thanks for your time.